TJ the Wheel Deal coming at you live. It is Thursday, 11:15 a.m. Central Time, Texas time. Special edition of Wheelers After Dark. Guys, I got the lights turned off. I've got me in the background over there on the TV, which is kind of funny. And we're gonna shoot the shit. That's it. It ain't gonna be that serious. We'll do a portfolio update, live Q&A. We'll talk a little bit about the stuff I got going on on Twitter. I posted something kind of funny on Jeremy's page that got a lot of traction. Probably get a lot of hate for that comment, so we'll do that too. I'm in good spirits, man. It's been a rough week or so. My mom passed. That sucked. That sucked. For anybody that's been through that, the feeling. It's tough, but at the end of the day, you got to move on. Sometimes life's hard. You just gotta rely on your faith. Move on. So anyway, and then yesterday was my late daughter's birthday, so that was like another kick in the nuts. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I ain't gonna go on YouTube and stuff. I don't want to be having any kind of pity parties or whatever. But I was able to do my job, make some trades, do some FaceTimes, that kind of thing. It was good. It was good, man. I'm in a good spot. I'm in such a good spot that I put this shirt on inside out. So I hopped out of the shower and I was just scurrying over here to get this done. The wife's fast asleep, and I was like, let me just put this shirt on real quick, and I put it inside out. And it is what it is. And I'm too chubby right now to flip it back around the right way on camera. Maybe when I lose another 30 pounds. So anyway, let's start off with X because it was funny. So let's go here, share the screen. And I kind of clowned on Financial Jeremy a little bit. It's kind of funny. I don't know him personally. He's a good dude. He's a very successful investor. But he says, where is Tesla stock in 3 years? Under 250 to 500, or over 500? In my opinion, over 500. My guess is 250 to 500. I need to set a reminder to come back to this post, May 2028, and see who is right. You could very well be right. I don't know. I think it's going to be over 500 just because of all the verticals that should be, come to play. But that being said, Tesla's extremely overvalued right now. So I'd say the 250 to 500 isn't a horrible guess. I think under 250, that's not going to happen. So anyway, and then this is his little post from April the 23rd, where he sold 100% of his Tesla stock. From my understanding, he's made a shitload of money on Tesla, so it's whatever, bravo to him. This is just a portion of what he had left, or this is what he had left. He's been in this stock for a long time, guys, so he made a shitload of money, so kudos to him on that. But I just felt like being funny. I go, you sold it. Who cares? You're just torturing yourself like a dude cyber stalking his ex-girlfriend. And 336 people liked it. There's 3 bookmarks, 7 retweets, and 32 comments. Of course, some of his fanboys are sticking up to him. I think he even posted on there as well. And I think it's funny. It's just funny. I don't know him. I was just being funny. So anyway, that's what's going on with the world of Twitter. So let's remove that. Let me catch up with you guys. I'm also going to throw an invite here. I know it's not our usual format. It's not our usual time to go on, but I'm going to try to do these a couple of times a week. And we can just shoot the shit, man. And it's just shoot the shit. That's it. But it was funny. It was funny because I don't care how successful the dude is. Tesla goes up to $1,500, or Kathy Wood is right with her crazy, ridiculous predictions. It's going to sting a little bit. I know for a fact because Meta stings me, right? Because I sold a few thousand shares of Meta in the $215 range, and Meta really pisses me off, and I cyberstalk it a little bit. So I'm speaking from experience, and I don't give a shit what he says on his channel. I know he's got a real big reach, but he knows damn well he's cyberstalking Tesla like that high school kid that got his heart broke. Shit is crazy. Anyway, what's going on? Log trades. What's going on? Matt Money, Minesh. What's going on? Star Trader. What's going on, Willie? What's going on, Yosef? Greetings, TJ. When did you get rid of InPhase? Thank God I got rid of InPhase in the $115 range, I think. Man, the portfolio would have been absolutely destroyed had I held on to InPhase shares. Thankfully, I ended up taking a 6-figure loss on InPhase right at about 100 grand. But then I'm in phase now via short strangle. So when we go over the portfolio update, I'll show you all that one. I think I got 50 cash secured puts, or I should technically call them short puts and short calls on InPhase. It's a short strangle, and it's doing okay. It's doing okay. I'm hoping to run that for the rest of the year. I wouldn't mind getting assigned some shares and doing a little swing trade action, maybe hold on to the shares for $5, $10 of capital appreciation, call it good. But I'm a lot more comfortable playing short strangles on InPhase. I don't really see a catalyst with this presidency, guys. I really just do not see a catalyst where InPhase is going to do a moonshot anytime soon. But the premiums are really delicious at these levels, and it's a pretty decent value at these levels as well. Not like a great value, but a decent value. So I'd say that the risk reward is pretty nice. It's pretty nice to the upside. I think it's got very limited downside, and it does have a massive upside if you have a long enough time horizon, in that 3 to 5, 7-year range. I think this thing's going to be an absolute juggernaut. Brendan Charles, everything's going well. Thank you. It's a good day to be alive. Akiva, what's going on? Sorry for your loss. God's plan is always better. That's a fact. That's a fact. What's going on, Log Trades? Sorry for your loss. Unfortunately, it's a guarantee for all. That's a fact, man. 1 out of 1's going to die. I talked about it during my mom's eulogy. And, there's 2 cases in the Bible where people didn't have to die a physical death, allegedly, right? I wasn't there. Enoch and Elijah. This is like a whirlwind that took Elijah up into the heavens, and I'm not exactly sure how it panned out for Enoch. But anyway, it's likely not happening for us. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to stop breathing. Our heart's going to stop beating, and then you transition onto the afterlife, and, it is what it is. What's going on, TJ? Glad you're having Wheelers After Dark. Yeah, I want to make this a kind of a regular thing, man. I want to make this a regular thing. I think this is a good time for me because the wife's asleep. I'm going to have limited interruptions. It's very unlikely that my phone's going to be blowing up, clients, family calling me, etc., checking on the market. I have the pressures of the market. I'm trying to manage all the positions in the portfolios and all that stuff. So this is just more like chill mode, TJ. And I just think it works better. I just really think it works better. And I'm going to open up more hours for FaceTimes for my members and stuff. So I'll just be less available during the day, but I want to keep the channel going. And I like to, grow the memberships, the subscriber base, everything. So I think that this could become like a thing, especially if I can get a couple of 2 or 3 night owls to help out and click the join button and help me with these, help me carry the stream, if you will. Heinzie Ketchup, what's going on? Chris gave you a shout out today. Right on. Chris is one of the smartest dudes I've had the pleasure of meeting him in person one time. And then anytime I hear him do a show, him and Matt Money specifically, and then I've seen a couple of the episodes with him and Sam Solid. Man, it's solid. Whatever happened to finance junkies? I haven't talked to Carlos. I'll see if we can get that going again. He's just been real busy. Bro, I'm with TJ on this. Jeremy is coping hard right now. Dude, it's pretty normal to have second thoughts, especially on a company that's near and dear to his heart, like Tesla is, because he's made a shitload of money with it. I think one time I caught one of his videos that he said something about like essentially Tesla bought him that fancy house that it has in the Las Vegas area. So it's tough to let it go. It's kind of like I sold recently 150,000 shares of SoFi, and I made a shitload of money with SoFi on capital appreciation and specifically cash secured puts and covered calls. And you feel funny about it because it's almost like you're betraying your investment thesis, you're betraying a community and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with ringing the cash register. More so than anything, I was just being funny, but it's also because I feel like I could totally relate to what the dude's going to be going through. I know for a fact that if Tesla goes to the freaking moon, it's going to be real hard for him to not want to buy back in. It's just one of those things. And then I don't know where he put the money though, because that's the thing. It's like when I got rid of Meta, the money went to Tesla. So as painful as Meta is, I made a shitload of money with Tesla on premiums and stuff like that in TSLL. That's where the Meta money went. So I feel like that helps out a lot, but and then I've gone back to Meta a couple of times to try to make a little bit more money. Anyway, here's the link, guys, if anybody wants to join. Vegas just tied the game with 8 minutes left. Right on. Except Jose, me and Carlos did one recently in February. Carlos been super busy with personal life and work. There you go. I'm doing well. Oh, Kathy Wood, man. Jesus. What's going on, Mike? Tom. Hey, TJ, good to see you back. Thoughts on this trade? I have 1,000 hood shares at 50. Sold calls this week. Plan was to make a bid and sell at 50 and use the funds elsewhere. Now it's 55. Well, how do you feel about it? Because it's real easy to make that plan when you're not leaving so much money on the table, right? But now that Bitcoin's mooning, more than likely Hood's going to moon with it a little bit. And then I think they have something going on with some sort of a stable coin or a blockchain or something. They're like circumventing something. Robinhood's very innovative. They're circumventing a way so that people in another country, I'm not sure if it's Europe or whatever, that they're going to be able to use Robinhood sooner rather than later. I feel like something like that came across my phone or one of my feeds, but I didn't click on it because I just have a short strangle on Robinhood, so I'm not like heavily invested. I don't know, but you can always roll and play it from behind and roll a month or so and increase $1 and try to get more capital appreciation, because sometimes that's the easiest money to get because you've already got a profit locked in there, if you will. You're just trying to maximize what you can squeeze out of that lemon, right? The juice you squeeze out of the lemon. Or if you want to move the money elsewhere, you could do that too. It just really depends on what your investment thesis is. What's going on, Doug? Thomas Zune, would you roll up for a week for $1 or just move on? If I was going to roll, I'd roll a month and I'd try to get at least another couple of dollars of capital appreciation. You just got to do the math. Like you already know the money that you have tied up in those shares. You're like, oh, I want to go get $2 more or $200, because the derivatives of 100, right, for options contract. Does that make you more money than just starting clean with something else, whether it's a buy right strategy somewhere else or selling cash secured puts somewhere else? That's a decision you have to make. You have to do the math and see what works for you. CleanSpark, what'd you buy? I'll show you all the positions that I got on CleanSpark. I got 2,000 short puts and calls on CleanSpark. No shares because I had some and I sold them for a profit. But I'm not super familiar with what happened with their earnings, but I think they were good. And I think that they already got an upgrade or two. So, yeah, not bad. Just got back from the gym, evening all. Damn, this is a very nice way to kick off the weekend. A great late night surprise here. Got great to catch this live right on. All we can do, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right on. God is good. Yeah, definitely. All the time. Do you wish you had Yes, I do. I really, really do. But at the same time, maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I wasn't ready. It's kind of like you're becoming a pilot or something like that just takes hours and hours to fine tune your skills and whatnot. So I feel like the Robinhood platform was really good for me because I was like really learning who I was in the market and like fine tuning my strategy. So I think like having access to all of these other, multi-leg strategies, if you will, could have probably been dangerous on the front end. So I'm definitely glad that I stuck on Robinhood as long as I did. I didn't sell out of SoFi. I repositioned the position. I repositioned. So I sold 150,000 shares, but then I bought 3,000 leaps. I've since sold 1,500 of those leaps, and now I have 1,500 leaps, and then I've got 3,000 CSPs, and I think I've got 3,000 short calls as well. Hey TJ, I sold 300 contracts, I assume, on TSOL for December the 19th. Sold puts at 10 strike, made a little over 100. Very nice. Did the trade because of you and doing a lot. Right on. When do you think SoFi hits 15 between now and the next earnings? Not a trader, but just one way to say hello to everyone. Hey, how are you, June? Mike K, trying to learn about options myself. TJ, what are you guys doing up at this hour? The wife's asleep, and I told her I wanted to do wheelers late at night, and she was like, "Get out of here." So it worked out. Most of the wheelers say I got so much premiums, but they give back a lot of premium closing early. So realize P&L should be the good metric to be calculated premium. Yeah. So there's premium collected, and then there's premium captured, right? So, but in order to capture it, you got to collect first. So I am always shooting for about 3 to 4% on collected premium. And then I feel like I'm going to end up at about 2.5% of captured premium end of day. So that's kind of the metric that I look at. I need a preschool class for options. I feel like everyone starts with multiplication when I'm trying to add one. I hear you. I would say June to look at my seminar. I did a seminar. It's like 3 hours long though, and about 3 or 4 months ago, and that would be a good place to start. I break it all down with slides and everything. Thoughts on Rocket Lab? Too risky. I'm just not interested in the space. I think it's a great company that's going to be an absolute juggernaut. It's just not for me, or I'm not for it. I didn't watch Star Wars. I didn't do any of that stuff. Sometimes I'm not even convinced that we made it to the moon, even though that you can see flags with the right telescope. But I'm just not interested. I'm just not interested. I live right here close to SpaceX, and unless you're gonna like pay me money to go see one of those launches or something, I ain't going. And then they make like a lot of noise and stuff, freaking stuff on your walls shakes and stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. Funniest shit ever was when TJ did like an all-night stream only to hear he went to the doghouse the next day. We did like a 7-hour wheelers. Thoughts on Trump saying better buy stocks, even though I made a lot of money, it is still fucking with my head because I don't know how this is legal and no one can stop him. I mean, this dude did a pump and dump right before he took the presidency. So Donald Trump is one of a kind. Is what it is. Are you not getting aggressive on hood strangles? I feel like I kind of am. We'll look at the portfolio here in a second. Right on. I lost my mom. Man, sorry about that, Bobby. I hope that you're doing well recovering and stuff. My mom was hurting. She'd been fighting cancer for about 2.5, 3 years now. And it's definitely tough not to have her here. But as weird as it is to say, it was tougher having her here in that kind of pain, in that kind of situation. She wasn't taking any more treatment or anything. She was in hospice. She was on her, essentially her deathbed for over a year. So that was tougher. It was easier just to let her go and let God be God, and then the healing process can really commence, if that makes sense. And she was excited to go home. Like the last few words she says was, "I want to go home. I want to go home," and then I'm going home. So it was just beautiful to see. Like that was be like she knew where she was going. So it was like, how can you not be excited for that? She made it to the end of her journey. And but it's just the beginning whenever you're a believer. It's the end of the physical life, but then there's the afterlife if you're a believer. If you're not a believer, well, then it's all good. It's your choice not to believe. It's all good. But yeah, no, it's all good, man. It's all good. We're in a good place. We have a faith as our foundation as a family. So it really helps us to understand the realities that one out of one, is like if you want a surefire guarantee in life is that one day you will not be alive. That's like the only thing that I can like for sure guarantee you, right? What do they say? Death and taxes. Um, I get you. TJ hospice is underused, sadly. I work in hospice, right on. Like TJ's photo rolls on this wall. I want to order one for the office, right on. Yeah, for sure. John 14:6, right? Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through him. Thoughts on Grab? I'm sure it's going to do great. There's a lot of smart people covering it. So there's got to be something there. It's just one of those stocks is just not for me. I'm just not interested. I was in it early. I was in it a while back, and I just couldn't get excited about it. Like I was like, I don't want to learn anything about this company to put any real money in it. It was just one of those things that I'm just not interested in. And I like my book. That's what I'm saying. It's like I like my book, so it's real hard to get anything else that I could get that excited about that we're going to put that kind of money into. Yeah, for sure. TJ, why don't you start 10 to 25% challenge? Kind of most people follow how to scale. We have many folks with small accounts. Yeah, I'm going to start featuring the smaller account for sure. It's got like 55,000 in it right now. So I'm going to start featuring it. Like I'm going to do like a dedicated stream. And that's the thing about these late night streams is I have to focus on the big accounts. I got to make big money, right? Because our family requires big money. But now it's like I can spend time and show y'all the smaller accounts as well because I ain't making any trades right now anyway. You have a strong message and acceptance of what had happened, man of faith. Appreciate you. What's going on? Pauzilla. Which do you feel will provide more returns over the next 5 years? SoFi or Hood? And if Galileo gets going, it's I feel that Hood will, or I'm sorry, I feel like that SoFi will, but I think Hood's going to do extremely well. I think they both will, man. I think they both will. I know that there's some overlap on customers and whatnot, and data-driven investing and Emit like went at each other. It was a very constructive debate, if you will. I think they both made some very cogent, valid points. But the world's big, guys. The world's big. So I think that they're both have plenty to eat. They're going after these legacy players and stuff. So I don't necessarily think they're competing against each other. They're just trying to get market share. And I think that they'll both get quite a bit of market share. So everybody talks about like Hood's eating like SoFi's lunch. But the one thing that I think that is understated or really never stated is what happens if SoFi improves the brokerage side of their business and they have the whole all-in-one stop and the banking license and all that other stuff, whereas SoFi's relying on partnerships because SoFi's already done the harder stuff. Robinhood doesn't even want to do that stuff because then it's going to they're going to be stuck because they can't move as quickly because there's all these regulations. Whereas like SoFi has a lot of these things in place already and they own the back end, the technology. Robinhood doesn't own that technology. SoFi owns all that technology, which is Technisys and Galileo. And then what if they improve their brokerage? That's interesting. So we'll see what happens, but I think there's plenty for it to eat. We're going to try to do something on Saturday, possibly even this Saturday. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate you answering my question. Do you think Palantir is overvalued? Yes. Yes, I do think that it's overvalued, but it's also the one thing that really drives price is market sentiment. And I think that the market sentiment on Palantir is top notch. The company is top notch. Everything they stand for is top notch. So that's also going to command a top notch premium. Now, this type of premium, is that warranted? Yeah, I don't think so, but I have a short strangle on it. 115 on the put side, 120 on the call side. So I'm still in it. I'm doing it, trying to make money with it. But as far as like wanting to own shares, man, where would I be excited to like start a position to like really take on some shares? Probably like $75. Get really aggressive sub 50, but I don't think that that's going to happen unless there's like a serious macro collapse. I was accepted for options trading at Vanguard, but like TJ mentioned, very limited, so I have to open up a Tasty Trade account. Right on. So anyway, let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it. We're going to share screen, and we're going to get into this thing here. Y'all should see kaleidoscope action there. And then now you guys are going to see Tasty Trade accounts. So we're going to work our way from the bottom to the top. So this is the big account, or the little account. This is my son's account right here. We've got 3,000 shares of Riot at $6.89. They're currently going for $8.44. So the profit and loss for the day was $1,800 on this particular position. The profit and loss open is $4,662.05. So the P&L percentage is 22.6%. And the profit and loss year to date on this position is 38.62. The capital requirement on this position is 33,208. So I feel like I could just really take my time in this hour because I'm not rushing because the numbers aren't moving. What else do we got? We have cash secured puts or short puts at $7. September the 19th, 134 days out at $7, 20 of those contracts. And then we've got the short calls at $11, 30 contracts. So when you see the 30 and you multiply that times 100, that's going to equal 3,000. So if you see if you see that the covered calls, the calls correspond to the amount of shares, that is a covered strangle. Whenever you don't see any shares owned and you just see puts and calls that are sold, that is called a short strangle. So by definition, this position is called a covered strangle. Now, I don't have the same amount of short puts as I do short calls because I don't have enough buying power. So I'm going to continue depositing money into this account. I just sent $3,000 a couple of days ago. Towards the end of the month, I'm going to send another $2,000 or so, $2,500, depending on how the finances are looking on a personal level. And I want to get another 10 contracts, puts on Riot. So then we're good. And then I'm just going to let it ride. This is just a theta decay play. I'm not in any hurry. I ain't trying to have a bunch of positions expiring week after week after week after week. I'm just going to let it ride because I feel like with these two plays right here that we have on, we can make a shitload of money. So I closed off the long calls. I had 110 long calls on SoFi and I took a bath. Lost about $6 or $7 grand. You can probably find it right here actually. So if I go here to history, go year to date, I can see SoFi there. Lost $7,000 on SoFi right here. So that's what's going on with the positions in a nutshell. And then TSLL. What's going on with TSLL? There is 1,500 shares owned at $8.85. It's currently going for 10 to 37. So very close today. And then I've got a covered strangle going on. I've got 15 short puts or cash secured puts at 7. And then I've got the 15 covered calls at 12, 130 days out. So I'm hoping that I will be underwater on the calls on both of these, and I'll continue to roll them out and up, out and up, out and up, and go grab the capital appreciation, and the money will be made by continuing to roll up the cash secured puts as well. So I'm good. Sometimes less is more. Like I don't want to be over trading in this account. I just want to do things methodically, nice and slow, and make plenty of money along the way. So that's what's going on with the small account in a nutshell. Now let's go over the intermediate account, if you will. Well, the one thing I could say here on the small account is the cash balance is 24,000. So it's okay. It's the little account's in decent shape. Now let's go on to the intermediate account. Got a cash balance here of 513,000, and we don't have a lot of positions, guys. So let me start with the first one. This is just a short strangle, and you guys will see here that there's no share zone. So that's what makes it a short strangle. So there's 100 short puts and 100 short calls, and $8 on the put, $11 on the call. So that creates a sweet spot. So a short strangle for me is called a sweet spot trade. In between the cash secured put, or the short put strike, and the short call, or the covered call strike, if you will, call them short puts and short calls. So 801 to 1099, that's a sweet spot. If 43 days from now, June the 20th, CleanSpark is trading between 801 and 1099, all of that extrinsic value, all of that premium would be realized, and the trade would come off the books. If one of them gets challenged, like if the put gets challenged, I could either choose to take ownership of the shares, because obviously you all saw that there's plenty of money in the account to do so, or I could roll everything down. I could go from 8 to 7, 11 to 10, right? Pick up more credits. That's an option. And if it really, really tanks, I'd have to add time to the contract, because contracts generally consist of two main components, time and money. So right now it's in a sweet spot, so I don't have to do anything. You don't want to over manage these positions, because every time you manage these positions, especially with that amount of contracts, you're going to pay some commissions and fees. So you want to manage as little as possible. Marathon, another short strangle, 12 on the put side, 16 on the call side. Now, the idea on these short strangles is you want to roll and expand. So in about 21 days to expiration, I want to keep these on the books. Ideally, I want to roll them. I want to add another 30, 45 days at that point, 2 or 3 weeks from now, when I manage these positions. And I want to maybe stay at 8, and like on CleanSpark, and increase the strike price on the call to like 12 or 13. So I'm widening the highway that way, because I look at the share price kind of like a drunk driver that's going all over the place. So the wider I can make the road, the better the chances of the share price to be able to navigate all the way to the finish line. Now, if CleanSpark is still at these levels, let's say it's at like 950 or so, right in the middle, 21 days to expiration, I might just leave the trade on a little bit longer before I roll, so I could try to capture more of that extrinsic value and get even more money on the next roll. But these trades, CleanSpark and Marathon, I'm looking to ride these out to the end of the year. So I want to roll, I want to expand, even if it's 50 cents, $1 each time I do it. Then towards the end of the year in December, I could be sitting on like a 10, or if it's going up, I could be sitting like on a 10 or 11 strike on the put, and maybe 20 or 25 on the call side. And I have a long 4-lane highway wide, and this thing would have plenty of time to make it to the finish line. But at some point, if you want to realize all the premium, you want to capture, this is collecting premium, you're collecting credits. But in order to capture the credits, you're going to have to make it to the finish line. So to increase your chances of being able to make it to the finish line successfully, it would behoove you to have a wide enough highway, a wide enough gap between your put and your call. That makes sense. So that's CleanSpark, that's Marathon. Riot's a little bit different. Why? Because there's some share zoned. So there's a part of this position that's covered strangle, because you'll see that it's 5,000 shares owned at 653, but then there's 100 puts and 100 calls. So it's covered halfway. And then the other, so it's kind of like, it's got a bottom on, not the top, so to speak. Right? So it's like, it's not fully naked, but it's not fully covered. So it's half covered. So you got the 5,000 shares. Those are doing well. And then I got 100 puts at 7 and 100 calls at 9. So I like it, but it's real tight. It's real tight. So in 20 days or so, 21 days, I'm going to look to widen the highway, specifically on the call side. I'd be more comfortable at 10 or 11 on the call side. And then that would give the share price a little more time to maneuver, a little more room to maneuver. SoFi is a little bit different as well. There's 800 calls at 16, 43 days out. There is 400 CSPs or short puts, 253 days out at 10. And then there is 400 leaps, 406 days out at 15. And you guys can see the percentages here. Up 31% on the short calls, up 32% on the short puts, and up a cool 75% on the long calls, the leaps. TSOL, another position that's halfway covered, halfway naked, if you will. There's 5,000 shares owned at a pretty decent average of 769, so that part's real good, up 34% on the shares. Then there's 100 short puts at 7.7, 43 days out, and 100 short calls at 12.7, 43 days out. So y'all see how wide that is. That's $5, not bad. That is the way that I would like all of them to start looking. And then like these short calls at 16 on SoFi, those look pretty good as well. So I'm going to try to milk those. I'm going to try to really milk those. There's $18,400 of extrinsic value on those contracts, and I'm really going to try to milk those guys. So that's what's going on with that position in a nutshell in that portfolio. Then we're going to go over to the one on the top here. So again, it's 5 positions. It's NEO, PayPal, Riot, Soxel, and TSLL. The ETFs leveraged. Look at the balance here, 277,000 in cash. So it's a pretty healthy account as well. And then we'll look at what positions we have. So what's going on with NEO? Short strangle, $4 on the put, $5 on the call. So the short puts are in the money by 3 cents. Not a bad place to be. PayPal. This is a covered strangle because there's 2,000 shares owned at $69. They're currently at 70, so up a little bit on the share. So that part's good. And then we got 20 CSPs at 67.5. And we have 20 covered calls at 72.50, 43 days out. And this is a covered strangle because there's 2,000 shares owned. So that's what's going on with PayPal. Riot, I believe, is a combination of short strangles and short calls, I believe, short puts and short calls. So let's see. So there's 50 short puts at 7 for June the 20th. Those are out of the money. And then there's 50 short calls or short puts, cash secure puts at 11, 43 days out, 50 of those. So those are in the money. And there is 100 short calls. So the reason I'm saying short calls and not covered calls is because there's no shares owned, if that makes sense. Just to clarify the terminology for you guys. Whenever you own the shares, they're covered calls. Whenever you don't own the shares, they're just short calls. They function the exact same way. The difference is whenever the shares are covered, you can deliver the shares no problem. But whenever the shares are not covered and they're just short calls and they get assigned, well, you have to buy those shares to make good, right? So there's a big nuance there. There's a big difference there, and it's very, very important to be completely aware of what's going on. Soxel, 1,000 shares. So we already know that part of this position is going to be covered if it's 10 contracts. If it's over 10 contracts, and that part is uncovered. So doing okay on the shares themselves. Then there's 20 short puts or cash secured puts June the 20th at a $12 strike. Those are out of the money. That part's good. And then 43 days out, there is short calls at $20. So this is a short strangle right here, the 20s for 12 and 18. So pretty wide on the road. I like it. And you want wide whenever you're dealing with a triple leverage play like SOXL is. And then I've got the covered calls August the 15th, 99 days out. Those are in the money because that's a $12 strike and it's already trading at 1367. So not a bad position. I like the way that I'm managing that one. And then TSOL, there's 2,000 shares owned at 774. So that part's pretty good. And then there's 100 CSPs at 8.7, 43 days out. There's 100 short calls at 14.7, 43 days out. So that's pretty wide. I really like that one. And then 134 days out, there's covered calls at $12. So I expect that those are going to be underwater and we'll just manage the position accordingly. So that is what is going on in a nutshell. Now let's get to the featured account. This is the big one. This is the big one. And we got a cool 9.524 in brokerage cash, guys. Pretty damn awesome. But before I get into this account, what I want to do is I want to minimize this. And I want to come over here and I want to invite, I've got AK Willie in the background there. How are you?
Oh, hey, what's up, TJ?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm sorry I caught you here. I'm watching this it's overtime on the Vegas thing. But no, man, I just wanted to point out one thing because I'm a small account guy.
Right
like
on.
I think a lot of the guys that watch, under 50K. And I just want to tell you the situation I ran into where I started selling the covered calls on margin, basically, where I didn't have the cash in there. So before I did that,
covered calls or the cash secured puts on margin.
I'm sorry, what's that?
How are you able to sell calls on margin? Are you talking about selling cash secured puts?
I had about $40,000 worth of Rocket Lab stock.
Okay.
And so I started selling covered calls on what the hell was it? Man, you caught me at a bad time. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I actually was on Rocket Lab. I was selling them leaps January 2027 for $40. And before I did that, I had buying power of like $120,000. And I also had the ability to withdraw from my Webull account like $25,000 or whatever. And as soon as I started selling those covered calls, my buying power went down to like $15,000. And the amount I could withdraw out of my account was like $4,000.
So you're trying to understand why that.
No, I mean I understand why it is, but I did it so aggressively to start because I went on vacation down to Vegas and I took money out of my account, like $5,000, and then once I got back from Vegas, I repaid it. It was not a problem.
Right.
But now I feel like if I withdraw $5,000 from my account to go to Vegas or whatever, that gives me like $1,000, buffer before getting margin called. Even though the cash secured puts that I sold are, technically in the money. You know what I mean?
So I guess I'd have to like really see the position so that I could like really visualize it. So you have
I sold 5 of them.
So walk me through how many shares of Rocket Labs did you have? So I'll put it in the chat so I could like have a visual. because I'm a visual learner. That's why when I do FaceTimes, the first thing I do is like, show me the portfolio, dude. I don't need you to say anything. Just show me the portfolio and I'll know where you're at. So,
oh man, I can't.
no.
I don't know how to do the computer stuff. All right, so I got.
You have how many shares of Rocket Labs?
Well, basically 2,000, because I have about 500 of them at $5 options that I bought 2 years ago.
No.
So
talk to me about the hard shares because I feel like
exactly
what you're doing
hard
is
shares. I have 1,500.
We're scrambling.
I have 1,500 shares of Rocket Lab.
Okay, super. Because this is the way this is the way that your broker looks at these things, right? The real asset that you have here is the shares. Everything else is an option, right? And the reason I say the real asset is because the shares don't expire. So you have 1,500 shares of Rocket Lab.
Yeah.
So that's worth money. And then you bought leaps as well, or you sold puts and calls. What did you do after that?
I bought leaps like
leaps?
2 years ago. $5 strike price. So those are golden. But
when do they expire though? Because they might be expiring here pretty soon.
They expire December 26 or January 27, something like that.
Okay.
They're up big.
Yeah.
And I actually want to take ownership of the shares.
So you need to
But what screwed me though, man, is selling these freaking cash secured puts. Even though they're in the money, it dropped the amount I could withdraw out of my account.
So you sold cash secured puts at what price?
I sold them and bear with me, I didn't have any cash in the account, maybe $100. I sold them at and these are basically December 26 and January 27 or whatever. $40, $27, $10. A lot of $10 ones. So basically, I was on the hook for maybe like 20 grand or something like that for cash secured puts.
Okay, so hold on 1 second, AK.
Yeah.
So you sold and what is Rocket Labs trading at right now?
Like 22 or something like that.
Okay, so hear me out real quick. You have a commitment to buy shares of Rocket Labs at $40 and at $27. And Rocket Labs is currently trading at about 20, correct?
Yeah.
So that's not good. That's not a good trade. Like I think that you might have a fundamental misunderstanding of a cash secured put because you have an agreement to overpay for shares when you can go buy them on the open market right now for $20. So you would have, how many contracts do you have at 40 and at 27?
The exact amount I don't remember, but you forgot the main part. I got paid for these goddamn contracts. I got paid $2,200.
No, I
for a $40 contract. That means they need to be at $18.
No. That's your break even, my man.
That's a break even.
But when you sell a cash secured put, you are financially obligated to buy those shares at that price if they expire in the money. Now, yes, I understand that you have a break even of 18, but come expiration Friday, whenever, fast forward life a year and a half, whenever these contracts expire, those shares are going to get put onto you at $40 and $27 respectively if Rocket Lab stays at these levels. So you are
shit, TJ.
Yeah,
God damn. Everyone fucking knows that.
But what I'm saying,
it drops goddamn the amount that you can withdraw out of your account by that amount. By 4,000. If you sell $40 put, it drops it down. It shouldn't do that. But it does.
But your brokerage has to protect itself because at some
My
point,
brokerage is sucking balls. I don't change brokers like you. I stick with fucking Webull. And they're going to take $4,000 for every goddamn $40 put I sell and take that out of my freaking buying power, my withdrawal power. It's ridiculous.
Well,
I just wanted to know.
That's what a cash secured put is, though, AK. I mean, you committed, you contractually obligated yourself to buy these shares at $40. So the account's not going to let you go hang out and play with your money in Vegas, knowing that you have this contract that's underwater right now.
Well, that's just ridiculous. Why can't the brokerage see the writing on the wall? Say, hey, this was a good trade. You know what I mean? And I don't mind buying Rocket Lab at 40. I don't mind buying them at 27, especially, January 2027. Give me a freaking break. To give me now where I can only withdraw on basically it's a $44,000 account. I can only withdraw right now $5,500.
So let's just say Rocket Labs were to go to $10 because it could happen, right? It's very unlikely, but it could happen.
Hell no, it ain't happening. Jesus Christ!
I mean, if you knew that, you'd be Cleo. You don't know that. I mean, you don't know that.
I'm goddamn rocket scientist. Rocket Lab is not going $10.
That's fair.
All right,
but
so
a lot of people could have said it was never going to go to 40, but it kind of did that too, right? For a hot minute.
That's why I moved out of Texas. Get away from fucking retards like you. Let me ask you this.
Why are you so angry at me? I'm not the one that placed that trade. You did.
Whatever, man. It was a good trade. It's a damn good trade. I'm getting screwed by my broker. You know what I mean?
But what makes it a good trade if it's trading at $20 right now and you have an obligation to buy them at 40? How does that make it a good trade?
Because January 2027, they're going to be trading at like $1 million. So, yeah, it's obviously a good trade. Let me ask you this, though, TJ.
Trading at $1 million, AK.
And I appreciate you not wearing your helmet on screen here. I know you're riding a short bus everywhere you got to go, Uber, whatever you want to call it. But if you got goddamn $10 cash secure put that you fucking sold, all right? They ain't going down below fucking $10. I sold like 10 of these, I hate to be a cursor or whatever, but cunts. And I collected I don't even know, $40 freaking dollars a contract. It was ridiculous. And now these little contracts are trading down at like $75. So in reality, I could buy it for $45 or $75. Is that going to say I got 10 of those? So I'm on the hook for goddamn 10 freaking thousand goddamn dollars. Is that going to give me $10,000 of buying power back that I lost? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not
even
sure.
Though I'm gonna buy it.
Like you said, I'm riding the short bus, right? That's what you said. Anyway, my man, AK, I wish you the best. You have a good one, bud. Guys, was that not gold or what? Was that not gold or what? So anyway, I don't know why AK is so angry at me. I didn't place those trades, and I don't know in what world. Selling a cash secured put at 40 and the stock's trading at like half that value would make you think that you know what it reminded me of when I used to do Uber late at night, and then you get the drunk people in the car and you just have to deal with them because you chose to pick them up, right? So yeah, I don't necessarily have like the patience of Job, if you will, but I'm pretty good with people. I grew up in a bar. So I've seen a lot of people that are like getting inebriated and angry and stuff. And it's all good, man. You just got to love everybody. Nowadays, you're not wheeling properly, taking assignments and selling calls. Mostly you have more strangles rolling in and out. Which strategy do you think is bringing in more money? I still have a lot of shares, right? We're going to get into the position here in a little bit. I'm telling you, we need to clip that one. We need to clip that shit, man. I need to get Alex back on track. He hasn't done short videos for us in a while because he's got a different job now. But anyway, let's get back to the portfolio update. If anybody else wants to click the link, just try not to be, drunk. That'd be great. Oh man, that shit was classic. I never been told that I've been riding the short bus and that he had to move out of Texas to get away from retards like me. Oh shoot. Okay, let's get into it. So let's see here. There we go. So where are we at? I don't know that it'll get to it depends. We'll look at it here in a second. I'm about to feature it. So let me get going. Be good for the ratings, right? Never had a guest come on and call me a retard. That was pretty interesting. So anyway, okay, let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it. So we got featured account up. So here we go. So let's see. We've got Amazon, 10,000 shares, 100 CSPs, 100 covered calls. So that is a covered strangle by definition. The CSPs are sitting at 175. The cover calls are sitting at 205. So I've got a pretty decent size highway there. Pretty wide at 175 on the puts and 205 on the calls. It feels good. It feels good to have Amazon at these levels because when it was in the 160s, the account was really, really hurting, right? Because it's 10,000 shares of Amazon. I considered for a while. I went back and forth, guys, probably at least 1,000 times on whether or not I was going to sell Amazon. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't be that guy. I couldn't be the guy that had 10,000 shares of Amazon and sold them. So I was like, I'm going to be the guy that has a commitment to buy an additional 10,000 shares of Amazon. And I'm going to run the short strangle. And then that between the puts and the calls, that's going to give us about $50,000, $60,000 in monthly premiums. And now we're cooking with gas. So that is what we're trying to do with Amazon now. It's turned it into a money maker and a money shaker, baby. So we got the 10,000 shares. We're down on the shares still, 110 grand on that. And then we got the 100 CSPs that are up 21%. And we got the 100 cover calls that are up 1%. So not bad. And we got quite a bit of extrinsic value there on the position, 61,000 or so. CleanSpark. What's going on with CleanSpark? They just had earnings today. I saw a tweet by Rex Finance. He said that the earnings were great. He's never felt so optimistic. And they're at 2,000 CSPs at $8 and 2,000 short calls at 11. So pretty tight. I'm playing it pretty tight there on CleanSpark. So if CleanSpark catches bid, I'd have to be prepared to roll this entire position up. And this was requiring $921,000 in capital requirements, up a cool $99,000 on this position for the year, though. Because there was a time where owned shares and flipped some shares for a couple of dollars of capital appreciation. Enphase, what's going on with Enphase? Got a little short strangle here on Enphase. So on CleanSpark, obviously, hopefully y'all caught on by now. That's a short strangle, big short strangle. On Enphase, this is also a short strangle. The short put is at 45 and the short call is at 55, or cash and carry put. I'm just going to start calling them short puts so they make sense. Short put, short call for a short strangle. So I got the short puts at 45 and the short calls at 55. So another sweet spot trade here at $10 wide. So the idea is to stay in these trades long enough and when we're about 21 days out, I want to roll it and expand it. So it'd be nice to be still sitting maybe at 45 because I really like that as an entry point to take ownership of shares. So I don't know that I would be rolling down on the put side, but it would be nice to maybe roll the short call side to like 60 and then eventually 65. And then I'd feel real good with the highway 45 on the put, 65 on the call. And then I could eventually ride this out to an expiration. But I like to get more extrinsic value there. There's 22.7 on the extrinsic value. I like to get it up to $100,000 and then have a 30, 35 wide strikes, right, from the puts and the calls, and then let the share price navigate its way to the finish line, and I will capture all of that premium. That's why I say it's a game of credits. Google. I went nuts on Google here recently, guys, on this pullback. Sold now I have 50 short puts at 150 and 50 short calls at 165, 43 days out. Roll and expand, roll and expand. 140 is probably the lowest that I'll go on Google on the put side, and I'm okay taking ownership of Google at those levels. And eventually I like to get to like 175, 185 on the call side. And then I think that would be wide enough so that the share price can make it all the way to the finish line, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it is. And maybe it does it on this cycle. And that's cool. There's $34,000 left of extrinsic value. Obviously, I'm down $2,500 on the position. So collected almost $32,000 in put premium and call premium. And if that's all I end up making and I never do Google again, I'm cool with it. I'm absolutely cool with it. But I wouldn't mind owning some shares of Google either at those levels. I've already made peace with Google. It's not my favorite company, but it is a monster. What's going on with HIMS? This is a short strangle that could have really gone bad because initially I had some short calls at 42. Luckily, I took those off and then I put them back on again. If not, this position could look really, really different. So I got the 50 short puts at 40 and 50 short calls at 65. 71 days out, I think that this one is going to be A-okay. Hood. What's going on with Hood? Somebody in the comments was like, why aren't you getting more aggressive with Hood? I got 50 short puts at 45 and 50 short calls at 55. I mean, I don't know what world you guys are in, but to me, that's pretty aggressive. And that's a lot of premium there, 29,000 of extrinsic value. I'm up 400 on the position. Collectively. So I'm cool making, another 29,000 on Hood if it just stays in this level. Obviously the short call is getting challenged. So I'm going to wait to that 21-day cycle when I'm 21 days to expiration. And then I'm going to look to expand, maybe stay at 45 on the put side if Hood is trending up and increase the strike price to at least 60 on the call side and keep expanding. And eventually I'd like to get you $100,000 in credits, and I'll be hopefully about 25, 30 wide from the put and the call. And then I think that the share price can navigate all the way to the finish line and I can capture all of that premium. Marathon, what's going on with Marathon? There's short strangle here, 200 of them, 200 on the put side, 200 on the call side. It's not very wide, 12 and 15. And there is 41,600 of extrinsic value there. And I've already made a cool 41,000 on this particular position because I did a swing trade on some shares on Marathon. That was very lucrative. So here I got to definitely manage these right here because obviously the $15 short calls are already under pressure a little bit. So 21 days to expiration, I'll be looking to manage this particular position. I'll probably get option on the channel, and we'll do an episode of talking options and collect a couple of $200,000 or $300,000 more in premiums whenever I roll all of these when I'm 21 days to expiration. That's Marathon. Neo, what's going on with Neo? There's a big loss over here of 318,000 because I had a couple thousand short puts and short calls that I closed at a deficit because I had sold 150,000 shares of SoFi for a pretty nice gain. So I wanted to book a loss there, and then I waited 30 days. I actually waited 31 days, and then I put on a short strangle, a lot smaller now though, 200 short puts at 350 and 200 short calls at 450. I opened these 4 days ago, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm definitely going to try to get back all this money, and I'm also okay owning 20,000 shares of Neo at $3.50. So I would not be disappointed at all if Neo went to $3.50. And I don't think I'll have to manage it to the upside because I just don't see the catalyst that's going to take NEO to like $5 or $6 overnight. So I feel like this is a pretty safe trade. But at the same time, I'm going to play it no more than 500 contracts. So I could see a world where I add more contracts, but I'm being careful with the buying power and we'll talk about that when I get to the Tesla position. NVIDIA is another one that has been on the books not very long. I just added to this position. That's why it shows days to open. So I've got 50 short puts at 110, 43 days out, June the 20th, and I got 50 short calls at 125. So I feel pretty good about it, but I'll feel better on the next cycle because I'll be able to expand. Right now it's only 15 wide. I like to get it to at least 20, 25. I feel like this is the kind of stock that I'm probably going to need it to be 40 wide 6 months from now, and then I'll be able to wait until expiration so I can realize all that premium. But I'm pretty happy here because there's $48,000 of extrinsic value here. So that's not bad. And I like to capture all of it. So I am trying to get these wide enough so that I can capture all of that extrinsic value, guys. That's the name of the game. It's roll and expand. Roll, collect credits, expand. Expand the strikes, like the difference between the short strike on the puts and the calls. That's the name of the game that I'm playing here. Palantir. This is another short strangle that has just been an absolute pain in the ass because Palantir just won't stop. So I got 25 short puts at 115 and 25 short calls at 120. So I'm playing it nice and tight. I've had to collect a lot of premiums on the short puts to help me navigate on the short calls because the short calls are under pressure. So, and this is 71 days out. I want to roll and expand. I like to get as low as 100 on the short puts and then probably 130 or so, 140 on the call. And I think that will be wide enough to be able to see it to the finish line. But it might take to the end of the year to get there. We'll see. Riot, big position here. We got 100 CSPs or short puts at 7. So those are doing pretty well, up 73%, 43 days out. Then got 2,000 short calls at 10. And the reason I'm able to do 2,000 is because I've got 1,000 leaps at $10, 406 days out. Those are up 8.5%. I recently sold 150,000 shares of Riot at $8.49, something like that. And I bought the 1,000 leaps with that money, freed up some capital. And this is the way that I'm playing Riot now. SoFi. 3,000 short calls at 15 for June the 20th. 3,000 short puts for the beginning of next year, 253 days out at $12. Those are already up 20%. And then I got 1,500 leaps. I had 3,000 leaps, but I since locked in a nice little profit on those leaps. And now I'm sitting at 1,500 leaps, up 54% on those. Soxel, this is another one that I took a bath on whenever I was trying to reposition the portfolio to go heavier on Tesla and TSLL. So I locked in a nice little loss there after we had sold those shares of SoFi for a nice profit. So now I just got back into it. So I got 200 short puts at 12, 200 short puts at 15, and these expire in 8 days. So I'm going to have some more short dated stuff here as well so I can ring the cash register. So I'm hoping to be able to ring the cash register here and put the trades on again. If I'm not able to ring the cash register because one of the positions gets challenged, specifically the call, then I'll roll out and expand, And eventually this is probably going to be one of those that needs like a $10 wide to be able to make it to the finish line, or I might just get lucky here. But this is a trade that I want to keep on till the end of the year. And I can see it getting as high as 500 contracts. So on NEO, ultimately, I'm looking to get to 500 contracts. On SOXL, I'm looking to get to 500 contracts. On Google, I'm looking to get to 100 contracts on both sides. And on NVIDIA, I'm looking to get to 100 contracts on both sides. And there's a world where I can look to get to 100 contracts on Hood as well. But Hood would have to go back into the 40s for me to do so. At these levels, I'm just not interested. Now let's get into the featured position, Tesla. what's going on with Tesla. There's 6,500 shares, so the shares are doing well, thankfully. And there's 35 short puts at 250, 71 days out. Those are a little bit better than break even, up 2.2%. And then this is where the fun starts. There's 315 short calls at 310, 71 days out. And then there's an additional 285 short calls at 340, 71 days out, up 19% on the 310s because I've been in those a little bit longer, and down a little bit on the 340s, but obviously the 340s are safer than the 310s. And the reason that I'm able to do that is because I sold 500 short puts at $200 beginning of next year at 253, and those are up a cool 25% or $285,000. So the name of the game is to roll and expand, roll and expand, roll and expand. Eventually, these 71 days, I'm hoping to be able to stay in these for at least another 3 or 4 weeks before I have to deal with them. And then I'll add another month or two to the contract, hopefully go from 310 to like 320 or 330, go from 340 to like 350, 360, collect a shitload of credits. And eventually they'll be sitting in January where these puts are, but I'm hoping that these will have a 4 in front of them, something like between 400 and 450. That's the idea. And that's how wide it needs to be on Tesla to make it to the finish line. And you'll see that there's $1.9 million in extrinsic value there. So at some point, I'm going to have to wait it out. And then obviously 833,000 of that is over here on these CSPs. Those are on easy street right now, guys. Those are on absolute easy street. And I'm going to keep these 35 cash secure puts on until I own an additional 3,500 shares because I like to get to 10,000 shares of Tesla. So we'd have 10,000 shares of Amazon, 10,000 shares of Tesla, and then we'll get into the other position, which is TSOL. There's 50,000 shares of TSOL. I like to get to 100,000 shares of TSOL. This is my insurance policy for all the naked call action that I'm doing on TSOL. I'm like, I can go make $1 million over here, and that'll help me in case if things get out of hand with Tesla. So there's 50,000 shares of Tesla. I've got 500 short puts at $10 for next Friday. We've got 500 short calls at 11 for next Friday. So these are actually covered calls because I could afford to have these called away because I got 50,000 shares. So there's not a lot of pressure there. And in the distance, 134 days out, I've got an agreement to buy 50,000 more shares of TSLL at $9, September the 19th. And then I've got short calls at 14 for September the 19th. Now, the beautiful thing about playing this one, the way that I'm playing it versus Tesla, is if I need to buy another 50,000 shares of TSLL, I could certainly afford to, considering that there's $9.5 million in cash. It's a lot harder to deliver the amount of shares that I'd have to deliver to cover the entire position on Tesla. So my wife is saying she don't like being over there. Yes, baby. Give me 15 minutes. All right, so I'm already being summoned, guys. I'm already being summoned. So anyway, so that's what's going on with the positions in a nutshell. So let me get over here. Let me get over here. It looks like we've got little Willie wanting to come back on over here. He's in the backstage, but I think we're good with him. I think I've been insulted enough for the night. Wow, flying a news helicopter for years, thought I saw everything. Surprised it didn't boot him, TJ. Can you explain what happens when your poor man cover calls are assigned? You definitely don't want to get to that point. You do not want to get to that point. I've actually done video on that one before, so you might want to just look at that one because it's a little bit complicated. So what happens is if your cover call gets underwater, the best thing to do is to close the cover call side and then close the long call side because then you can maintain a nice little profit there. If not, you're just going to be in a real sticky situation. I'm sorry I don't have like more time to get into more detail on that one. I appreciate the 1,200 people that tuned in on X and the 54 people rocking with me live on YouTube. Really curious to know what would happen if tomorrow the underlines go down like 50%, how to mitigate. That would actually be really good for me from the standpoint that all the short calls would be printing. And there's plenty of money to handle most of the assignments on the short put side of things. So I just roll down. I'd roll down. I'd get probably more aggressive on the short calls, depending on what the situation is, right? Because like if Tesla were to like drop to like 200, it's almost like I expected, because I feel like fair value for Tesla is like 175 right now, So that's the thing, So you have to have an investment thesis in place. What's your net account value? It's like 10.9 realized P&L for April. I feel like you're doing revenge trading on NEO and Enphase. Thoughts? No, I'm definitely excited about NEO, especially at 350. And I just closed those out. It was a strategy to close those out for tax harvesting. But if I was doing revenge trading with NEO, you'd see like 1,000 contracts up there. Because at these levels, NEO is kind of a no-brainer for me, especially at 350. But I really don't want that big of a position on NEO. Like I'm thinking that 50,000 shares is the absolute max that I should have, because I'm so heavy in Tesla now. So it's like you got Tesla, you got NEO. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? And then Enphase, I like it. I like it at those levels. I think $45 is a pretty good level. I mean, if somehow I could get it at like 40, that would be even better. I just don't know that it's going to get there. And it went to like 43 or 44 a couple of days ago. And I was just like, there was nothing to do. I was just going to wait it out. But I'm like, there's still like 43 days to expiration. So I would not mind taking ownership of Enphase and writing those shares up to like 55 or 60. But it's just going to be a swing trade now, because my wife made it abundantly clear we don't need Enphase when we have Tesla. How much premium did you make this month? I haven't even really been keeping track of all that stuff. I'll try to look at all of those metrics and stuff, and I'll pull them up for you guys. I just got to like figure out where exactly to poke on the desktop, because those metrics are a lot easier for me to find on the app on the phone. Is Thesis Trade better than Robinhood because you're able to do short strangles? Good question. It's a lot more than that, though. It's a lot more than that. It's about being able to see like your position deltas and your theta, your vega, your delta correlations and stuff. Like being able to see all of that on the dashboard makes it a lot better for me. For me personally, again, this is just the journey that I'm on. I want to become the best wheeler that I could possibly become. And I just need more metrics. Now, Robinhood Legend probably gives you a lot of these metrics as well now. I don't know, but I feel like I have found a home on Tasty Trade, and this is where I'm going to rock in the foreseeable future. And I'm happy to be here. I feel like I've definitely found home. I usually cashing premiums monthly or quarterly. So I typically start every position out 30 to 45 days out, with a few exceptions. Like I did my first 0 DTE on TSLL, knowing that if it came under pressure, I would just roll it out. So I'm trying to do weeklies on TSLL for some nice cash flow. And then I'm potentially going to be doing the same weekly to 2 weekly on SOXL. So those are going to be the two that I'm going to do some short dated stuff, so I can ring the cash register, so I can have more realized gains and not just a bunch of unrealized stuff. Because I want to ring the cash register so that at the end of the year we look up and boom, it was a very, very, it was another banner year type thing. So anyway, I got to get rocking and rolling, man. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I'll try to do another one here in the next couple of days. Next week, sometime, I believe we're going out of town and stuff. So it's going to be another rocky week for me as far as being able to come on live and stuff. But anyway, TJ the Wheel Deal signing off. As always, may your sky stay blue, stocks green. Peace out. God bless you guys.